Hello friend, today in this class we will check the after insert event and after update event, and we will clone the contact whenever a contact is created and when the email ID of that contact is updated. Okay, so let's start this class. So I have already opened the developer console. So this is the code which you have learned in the last class. Okay, so this is simply showing a validation rule. Okay, now, what our requirement is, whenever a contact is created, it should create a clone. Okay, so for that, what we'll do, we'll create a new object here. Okay, so quickly let me create an object. So simply custom object, then we'll name it contact clone. Okay, then name fine. Then we'll create few fields to store the fields of contact. Okay, so what we'll store? We'll store the email ID of that. Okay, so this should be the email ID. I'll name it contact email. Okay, and now what we are doing, we are cloning the contact in this particular contact clone object, right? So what we need to do is we need to link this particular object to contact. So for that, what we'll do, we'll create a lookup field which will be lookup with contact. Okay, and we'll store the contact ID with this contact field. Okay, so here we need to use lookup relationship. Then we'll choose here contact. Okay, fine. Save. Okay. Now here let me explain again what is the requirement. Okay. So whenever the contact is created, let me open the contact first. Okay. So whenever a new contact is created, okay, so what will happen? It will link this, it will clone this contact, okay, by this email ID, okay, and it will in the contact ID, whatever you have created in the contact clone field, that clone field have a contact field, right? So that contact field will contain this particular contact ID, okay, and this last name and first name, it will be the name of the contact clone field, okay. So let me quickly do another thing. Let me create a tab for the newly created object. Okay. So for that you need to come to tab. Okay. Then custom object tabs. New. Then in here you need to choose this object. That's it. Then here any particular icon. Next and save. Okay, fine. So let me parallelly open that object as well. So we have this. Okay, so let's start this. Now the requirement is clear. Whenever a new contact is created, we need to create this particular contact clone. And whenever the email ID of that contact is updated, we need to recreate another clone. Okay, so let's start this. So in the before class, what we did, we have just write the validation rule. Okay, so it was on before event. Now the requirement is whenever it is created, the contact is created or updated, means it should be after insert or after update. Why? In case, just assume there is a any validation rule in the contact, okay, and we hit the save button and it failed, and we write the just assume we write the same code in before insert, then what will happen? The contact clone will be created, but the contact will not create since it failed due to some validation rule. Okay. So in that case, if any scenario where you need to clone anything, okay, so in that case, we should always use after insert or after update, okay, so that the trigger makes sure like the contact is created successfully, and after that it creates the clone of that particular contact, okay. And also another thing is, if we'll use the before insert event, we'll not get the contact id. We'll get the particular record id only when the contact is inserted, only when the s object is inserted, okay. So here what we need to add, we need to add here after insert, okay, and after update. Fine. So this is the trigger and this is calling our class. Okay. Now we need to create another method here. Okay. To clone the particular contact. Now let me create a method. Okay. This is the method name. Okay. So now what we need to do is, first we need to run the loop to get the latest value, whatever is given in the particular contact. Okay. So now for that what we'll do, we'll run the loop inside contact. We can copy paste the same thing. Okay. Now we have the contact with the new list, right? So it will contain the new values whatever user will given during creating the contact. Okay. Now we need to create an instance of what, this clone, since we need to clone this particular contact in this object, right? So for that, how we can create a new instance? Simply we need to copy the object id, sorry, api name. Okay. Then any variable name. Okay. So we can keep like clone con. Okay. Then new this. So this is the new instance for what, contact clone. Now for this contact clone, what we are going to store, we are going to store the email id. Right? So let me go to the field and relationship. Actually it should come, should press control plus space, but it's not showing now. Let me save and retry. Okay. It's not coming. So contact email, then contact clone, then what should happen here, it should go the email id of what, contact. So now this is wrong here. Why? Because this contact clone is containing, means contact details inside this particular con variable. Okay. So it is having the details of contact. Now this is a new instance of contact clone. So for this email id, means for contact clone email id, we are assigning the contact email id. Okay. Similarly what we need to do, we need to store the name as well. So it will be like contact clone dot name equals to con dot name. Okay. Now what we did, we assigned the contact email with the contact clone email id with the contact email id. Okay. Similarly what we need to do is, we need to assign the contact id as well, right? So this particular field. Fine. So this is a lookup of what, contact. So here we need to assign the contact id. Okay. Now see here. So this is somewhere it is failing. Let's read this. Variable as clone count. Okay. Okay. So it should be name. Fine. Now see, we cannot perform any DML action. Actually, we can perform the DML action like update, insert, upsert. Okay, but it's not a best practice. Okay, we should not perform any DML action inside for loop. So for that, what we need to do is, we need to store this particular instance outside any list type of variable. Okay, why? Because always for loop means this trigger will fire with bulk, right? It will not contain only on record. Okay. So for that, what we need to do is we need to create a list. List of what? List of this particular contact clone. Okay. So it should be list of contact clone. Okay. Then same thing. So now what we did, we have created a list of contact clone. So now this is empty, this is new. Okay. So we need to add the value of what? Contact clone. So simply we need to add the contact clone here. Okay. So this is the variable of contact clone. So we need to add this contact clone. Okay. Now what happened? This particular list is having a value. Okay. Again some error, let me read. Oh no, it's resolved. Fine. Okay. So now this particular list is having at least one contact clone. Okay. Now after this for loop, what we'll do, we'll just simply check whether this list is having any data or not. So for that, what we'll do, this dot size, okay, greater than 0, means this particular list is having at least one contact clone object record. Okay. Now if this is correct, means greater than 0. Okay. Now after that, what we need to do is simply we need to insert the list. Fine. So now see, our new method is ready, and in this new method, what we are doing, we are running the for loop to get the latest data of contact. Okay. And after that, we just simply created a contact clone instance, and we are just assigning the contact email id, means contact clone email id with the particular contact email id and name, and we are storing the contact id with this contact clone contact id. Okay. Now let me do one thing. So see, this method is not calling from anywhere, right? So now you need to think how trigger can reach to this particular method. So from this trigger, we are running this, we are calling this main handler, right? So we have our main handler here. Now here it should call when? After insert. So we have already written this after condition here. Okay. Now we need to check it is insert or update, correct? So similar thing we need to paste here as well. Okay. So we don't need this. Okay. So what we did, it is checking the is after. Okay. And we are checking it is insert or update. So as of now, we have written this code which should call in insert and update as well. Okay. Now what we need to do is we need to simply call this on insert. Okay. On update we will check later. First we will check on insert whether it is cloning the contact or not. Fine. So the trigger is saved now. Now let's move to contact and let's create a new contact. Okay. Mr. Taste. Okay. Email id will be taste@gmail.com. Okay. Save. So something is wrong. This record looks like exist. Make sure this. Okay. So this is something duplicate rules. Okay. So what we need to do is we need to just make some changes. Test one. Save. Okay. So now we can see this particular contact created a contact clone, right? And this is the name. So here in name, what is showing? See, contact clone name, it should show the contact name, but it is showing the ID, means something we have written wrong. So in the name, it should be contact name. Why it is coming? Contact is correct, email is correct, name is contact name equals to contact name. Why it is happening? Okay. So let's debug this, what and why it is assigning this particular value. Okay. So let's debug what we are getting in the contact new. Fine. So for that we need to debug this particular value. Now what we'll do, we'll not insert. Okay. We'll just debug this, what we are getting. Fine. was contact dot name. Okay, let me debug this here. Debug. Okay, so what this value what we are getting, that only we need to check, right? So what we'll keep, we'll just add some text here to check what value we are getting, and that particular value is only assigning to here, right? So let's clear the debug log. Okay, it's already clear. Okay, now let me create another contact. So contact, then page 3. Fine. Okay, now we should get this debug log. Okay, so it is coming as null. Okay, so what we need to do is we need to check how we can get the name here. So here what we can do, we can combine the last name and first name. Okay, right? So here simply what we'll do, instead of name, we'll just insert the last name. Okay, last name. Okay, now contact, email ID, then test4, and fine. Now let's see what we got. So now we got the test4, right? So instead of name, we need to assign the last name, right? Now we can remove this. Okay, now let's test this again. So now it should be test4, not it's 5. Okay, okay, I'm just saving this. Oh, okay. So let's check this contact clone, this test5. Now it is correct, right? The name is test5 and the contact email this, and it is the clone of what? Test5, right? So this is the clone of contact test5. So we are getting this value as well, right? So it is perfectly cloned now. Okay. Now, in case, just assume it is having the first name and last name both, correct? So in that case, what you need to do is you need to check. How you can check is contact dot first name, okay, not equals to null. Okay, in that case, what we will do, we will add the first name, okay, plus last name. Okay, else what we'll do, we'll just simply add the last name. Okay, so now you can see in to assigning the name, what we are checking whether the first name is there or not. In case if it is not there, just it will assign the last names. Why? The last name is required for contact creation. Okay, so for contact creation, last name is required. First name is not needed. Okay, here you can see. So what we'll do, it will simply add the last name in case the first name is not there. And in case if first name is there, then what we'll do, it will add the first name plus last name. But here we need to add a gap so that it is clear. Okay, so for that we'll add the simple space string here. Okay, I just added a space here. Now let's test with first name and last name. Okay, so test, and it should be Titan. Okay, so it should be just I am adding. Fine, save this. So you can see test 10 has added successfully, correct? So now the thing is, for before insert, like after insert, we are check, we have successfully clone the contact. Okay. Now in similar way, we need to update, like we need to create whenever the email is updated for this contact. Okay. So for that, what we need to check, the condition is whenever the email ID is updated. So for that, what we need to do, first we need to check whether it is updated or not. Okay. So what we will do, simply we'll check. First we'll get the old value. To get the old value, what we will do, we'll get the trigger dot old map. Means the old value will come from trigger dot old map. So for that, what we need to do is we need to create the map of ID comma contact, right? And it will be okay. We can copy the same thing which we have done already in the last class, correct? Let me explain what we are doing here. So this map of ID and contact, it will get the value from trigger.old map, right? And trigger.old map contains ID of the contact and the details of the contact as a value. Okay, so here key is ID and the details of the contact is a contact object. Fine. Now we need to check. What we need to check? Whether the email ID is updated or not, right? So we need to check if, right? Inside if, what we need to do, this, from this what we will get, we'll get the particular contact details, which is the id of what, contact.id, right? So what, this should go inside our for loop, correct? So for this new values, we are just checking, we are just getting the value of the contact id. From the contact id, we are just getting the old value, and with the old value we need to compare the email, okay, to what, with the new value, that is this contact, correct? So here what we are doing, we are just checking whether the old value of the contact is equals to, is not equals to email or not. So if it is not equals to, then only we need to create this particular list, correct? Done. So here simply what we did, we check the old value whether the email id is updated or not. Fine. Now the thing is, it should also run with the after insert also without checking other things, right? So for that, what we will do is simply check whether it is insert or not. Okay, so simply we'll keep this in our condition. Fine. Now our code is ready. The same thing, what we need to do, we need to call this on after update, correct? So we'll just simply call this particular method. Okay. So now what will happen? Trigger will execute. Trigger will come to this after. It will check after is true. Then is update. Then this is also true. Then it will execute this particular code. Then it will run the for loop with the new list. And here it will check whether it is insert. So for update it will simply fail. And it will check whether this is, the email ID is updated or not. Okay. If it is updated, then only it will create a contact clone here. Fine. And simply it is adding this list, and if it is greater than this, then it is inserting. Fine. So let's test this. So let's retest from the beginning. Okay. So let me add test 6. Okay. Test 6 at the rate gmail.com. Fine. So it should create without checking anything, since it's a insert, right? So it successfully created a contact clone. Now what we'll do, first I will go to this particular contact, then I will update this email id. Okay, gmail to test, I just assume. Okay. Now what should happen, this particular contact should have two contact clone, this previous one and the latest one. So now let me refresh this page in case if it is created. Okay, so see, we got this two contact. Okay, let me open both in different tab. Okay, So this is having test 6 email id, which is the old one. Okay, and it seems I have opened the same contact. Let me close and open this and this. Okay, gmail.com, test.com. Fine. So we updated this whenever the email id is changed. Now let's see if we don't change the email id, okay, of that contact, and just we simply update some other field, it should not create the contact clone, correct? Why? The email id is not updated, right? Okay, so I have saved this. Now go to related list, still 2. Let me refresh. So it is 2 only, correct? So now we got, whenever the email id is updated, it is creating the another contact colon record. Okay, so for your practice, what you can do is, we can create some other new fields if you want to store, and similarly you can map those values. Okay, and here you can try another thing, like whenever we are creating a new contact. Okay, so I am not adding these salutations. Okay, so you can also try adding salutation also with this null by checking the null condition and all. Okay, so thank you friends.